We're here on another edition of the QR Coaches Chalkboard. Chris Rossetti here along with Jess Quinn. We're going to adjust our camera a little bit there. There we go, Jess. Here in Tippin Gym after the KSAC girls semifinal games, wins by Red Bank Valley and by Montauk, setting up a third meeting between those teams. It was Montauk a little bit of the two of the closer games, Jess.
Montauk literally came out against North Clarion, and it was a very, very good basketball game. Back and forth. Kelly really played well, did a nice job for the Montauk Warriors. North Clarion was streaky and played some really good defense. I think one of the biggest things was Madison McFarland. She went down, looked kind of bad when she went down, but she came back in the game, but just wasn't the same type. She didn't have, it was an ankle issue. And from there, North Clarion seemed to struggle a little bit.
Yeah, and in the second game, I think we all expected Red Bank was going to mercy rule Clarion in that game. It took a lot longer than maybe some people thought. Clarion was hanging around, probably a little after the midway point of the second quarter, and then Kaylin Rarick hits a big three, and then Quinn White hits a couple big threes, and that pretty much changed that game, and it ended up, I think, 32 points.
And that's what I wrote down, Chris, in my notes, was that was the point where it really broke things open for the Red Bank Valley Bulldogs. And they really came out. They didn't know what to do at first because Clarion just held the ball out. Even though their 2-3 zone is very, very aggressive and they're very fast, Clarion was willing to just play the slow game. And you can't get in a track beat. Obviously, with Red Bank Valley, they'll run you out of the gym. And they were able to keep it close for, a quarter and a half. But once, I think the biggest one was Rarick's three. And then Quinn White comes in, hits two right in a row, and then the floodgates open.
I want to remind people the QR Coaches Chalkboard Show is brought to you by Allstate David Jones Insurance. Kaylin Rarick. Kaylin Rarick is not one of our advertisers. She is one of our interviews today, though. The Allstate David Jones Allstate Insurance, Delta Contracting, and Burford and Henry Showcase Homes. We'll have a little bit more about those folks here momentarily, but Jess, let's start with that Montauk. The Montauk and North Clarion game. Coming in, Montauk had a pretty easy time with North Clarion down at their place a few weeks ago. This one started out a lot differently than that one did.
It really did. And to be honest, Chris, you and I have talked about this a lot. Playing on a bigger floor, bigger crowd, it has a lot to do with it. And once you realize that it is still just a basketball game, the girls get into the flow. And like I said, earlier, it was back and forth. There was a lot of lead changes. And literally looking at what North Clarion wanted to do, they could do some inside things. And I tell you what, Homan took over in the first two quarters for North Clarion. But really for them, I really think that it was kind of popped their balloon when McFarland went down, because she's so important to their defense. She really works hard. She gets a lot of steals. She drives the ball. She hits some good shots. And when that disruption happened, it kind of just got North Clarion off balance. And it happened in a part of the game, the most important part, where you're coming down the stretch.
Jeff, we're going to step aside. Thanks some of our sponsors. When we come back, we'll get into the Pizza Hut recipe for success for the Montauk Lady Warriors there. You're watching the QR Coaches Chalkboard on the YDL Sports Network.
For residential and commercial construction services you can trust, call Delta Contracting and Design Incorporated in Strattonville today at 814-764-5506. Or if it's concrete and excavating work you need done, then call Ace Concrete and Excavating at 814-764-5551. More on both Delta Contracting and Design and Ace Concrete and Excavating can be found at delcondesign.com. That's DELCON design.com.
Looking for affordable auto, home, and life insurance? Look no further than Allstate Insurance, the David Jones Agency in Clarion and Meadville. At the David Jones Agency, you get personalized attention from someone who lives where you do. The David Jones Agency meets you where you are. They are available during regular business hours, Monday through Friday at their office, via appointment at the office after hours, or remotely. The David Jones Agency also offers investment opportunities, including annuities and IRAs. The David Jones Agency can be reached in Clarion at 814-223-4000 and in Meadville at 814-337-5107.
Buying, selling, or building a home? Then call Burford and Henry Real Estate today at 814-227-7355. For more than 15 years, Burford and Henry Real Estate Realtors have been ready to help you in your next property search. They are also the #1 agency selling more homes in the region than anyone else. And with their Showcase Homes divisions, their expert consultants can help you with building the home of your dreams. Check out Burford and Henry online at burfordandhenry.com. Burford and Henry Real Estate Services, something different.
Back here on the QR Coaches Chalkboard postgame show from the KSAC girls semifinals. Montauk defeats North Clarion. Red Bank Valley takes down Clarion. We were talking before the break there, Jess, about what the recipe for success for the Montauk Lady Warriors. Where the recipe for success brought to you by Pizza Hut. Pizza Hut in Clarion and Brookville, DuBois, Clearfield, St. Mary's. There's a whole bunch of them around, folks. Grove City. Get out to the Pizza Hut. Nobody out Pizza Hut. PizzaHut.com. But what was the Pizza Hut recipe for success for the Montauk Lady Warriors?
Looking at tonight's game, they were able to move the ball. Looking forward tomorrow night when they play Red Bank Valley in the final, I think that Montauk can take a page from what Clarion did tonight. Okay, with Kelly and some of their outside shooters, they have stronger girls, a little bit more experienced girls handling the basketball. They have a better inside game with Pry, more experience. I think if Montauk looked at what Clarion did, at least early on, and had some success, I think Montauk can in this case pull what we would call an upset. I think that Red Bank Valley, would be the favorite going in. But if they can slow it down, control the ball on offense, take time off the clock, and score, do a better job than what Clarion did and score early, kind of put Red Bank on its heels a little bit, I think, they could come in and win the KSAC tomorrow.
Yeah, one of the things that they did so well tonight, Catherine Kelly really shot the ball well, and we have an interview with her. And in that interview, Jess, I asked her about, being able to do that in a gym where the sight lines aren't what you're normally used to, and it just didn't bother her at all.
Well, and you and I have talked about that. We look down, there's 3 lines. There's the high school line, the women's college, and then the men's college lines. It can be confusing. I saw some young ladies, I saw some young men last night that were outside the men's 3-point line shooting. And of course, their shot was short. They're not shooting at that distance. So that has a lot to do with it. It didn't seem to bother her tonight. She hit some really, really big shots. Catherine Kelly did. But looking at what they can do tomorrow, I think they match up well. But I tell you, that Red Bank Valley team is just stacked. They bring girls, Addie Bond, Izzy Bond. They bring so many Quinn White off the bench who can score, Chris, and they can just come at you in waves.
Well, let's take a listen to what Catherine Kelly of Montauk had to say about her performance and her team's performance and getting to the KSAC championship game, which isn't something that happens a lot for the Montauk Lady Warriors. This is on the Daddies in Clarion player interview. Daddies in Clarion. You'll never have to worry about what you're dishing out for dinner when you go to Daddies in Clarion. Check them out on Facebook, facebook.com/Daddies Clarion.
Montauk's Catherine Kelly on the Daddies and Clarion post-game interview. Catherine, first of all, just talk about moving into the KSAC championship game. How exciting is this?
I was really excited for it because last year we lost to Karn City and we didn't make it, and that was pretty devastating, so it felt nice to get in this year.
You guys had beaten them fairly easily down at your place. I think you knew you were probably going to be in for a little closer of a game up here. What was the game plan going in?
Like we did last time, we were going to play like a tight man, and I think it worked for the most part, but we just knew we had to beat them on the boards and push the ball up the floor.
Your outside shooting was really on. Sometimes people struggle with the depth perception when they come into tip and gym. You didn't seem to have any problem with it.
No, I just knew even if I was missing them, I just had to keep shooting because eventually they would fall.
Talk about the rebounding and how important that was for this team. You guys really crushed them on the boards.
Oh, yeah, that's very important for us because we're not a real tall team. So to out-rebound a team that has someone who's like 6'3", it's really nice.
To have that tough loss to Karn City the other day, obviously your rival at Montauk, talk about being able to put that behind you and just come back out and play.
It definitely, I think, motivated all of us to come out here and play our hardest because we did not want to lose that game, and I think that helped us today.
Jess, a lot of really insightful things there from Catherine Kelly. What stuck out to you the most?
Her last statement, Chris. They lost recently. they learned from that loss. And I say that so often as a coach. I said it so often, years and years and years. Sometimes you can take a loss, learn from it, and it will actually, propel you to win the next game, win again and again and again, because you look at not necessarily critical things that you did wrong, but you learn at it from a constructive point of view. And you listen to your coach, and your coach says, look at this point, look what happened, look at the result, let's do this a little bit differently. And from that constructive point of view, they learned from it. And you could see when they played North Clarion tonight, they were ready to play.
Flipping over to the Red Bank Valley Clarion game, that game started a little slower than I think maybe you had a thought from Red Bank. Much of that was them maybe coming in and overlooking Clarion, and how much of that was what Clarion was doing?
I think it's a really good combination of both, Chris. Clarion, really, they sat way out. Now, Red Bank Valley sat in their traditional 2-3 zone, which they are very active. They really just are so aggressive out of that 2-3. They run it very, very well. Clarion said, we're going to pull it out. And it only, if you watch the game, Miley Harmon and Kaylin Rearick had a couple steals and came down and got a couple layups because of the miscues that Clarion had passing the ball. But I think it was 10-6 at one point, Chris, in the first quarter. And you're looking at it thinking, Clarion's in this game. But it, like we talked about,
it was still a 7 or 8 point game at like the 4-3 minute mark of that second quarter. And then Red Bank, the threes just started raining, and that can expand a game and a lead real quick, can it?
Well, it really can. And here's the other thing. Clarion traditionally, Chris, would sit in a 3-2. That's what Red Bank probably practiced against. Tonight they came out in a 2-3. And it wasn't till later on in that second quarter they figured that out. Kaylin Rearick hit that big three, and then Quinn White comes in, hit two more, really broke it open. And then from that point on, they kind of had it in cruise control. Miley Harmon taking over, doing what she does. Liv Huffman doing what she does on the boards. Who else? Bowser, really got into the scoring. They moved the ball well. They had a lot of people scoring tonight. And that's a recipe for success, for them moving forward.
Yeah, recipe for success brought to you by Pizza.
Nobody
right. Nobody Pizza's not. I had a chance to talk to Kaylin Rearick right after the game, and talked a little bit about her accepting her role the last couple of years too, Jess, which I think has been really important for the success of this Red Bank team. She was a scorer. Now she's become more of a player that does a little bit of everything for them. And here's what Kaylin had to say at the end of the game.
We're here with Kaylin Rearick on the Daddies and Clarion post-game interview. Kaylin, Jess and I both thought your three-pointer there in the second quarter kind of maybe relaxed things. You hit that, and then Quinn hits two right after that, and it seemed to really get you guys back into your flow. Talk a little bit about what you remember from that shot.
Just knowing that I was open, and in warm-ups I was shooting great, so I told them, I said, just pass me the ball and let me do my thing, and they did, and I guess just it happened like that.
Talk a little bit about accepting what your role has become over the last 2 years. You were a scorer your first 2 years. Miley comes in, obviously she's what she is,
Yeah.
And so you had to take a different role, but you have never seemed to allow that role to affect how you play. You're still out there, you're still playing hard defensively, you're still doing all the little things. Talk about, feeling that, hey, look, this is what I'm going to need to do for us to be successful as a team.
Yeah, I always want to do what's best for my team. So my freshman and sophomore year, me being the shooter of the team, that was what I had to do. But Miley coming on as a freshman, doing her thing, it's great for the team, and I don't mind. Like I love just being a part of this team and doing what I have to do to make us win every game, or just put my 100% effort into it and just do what I got to do.
As a freshman, you guys were in the KSAC championship game. Then in your sophomore year, there was none. Then last year, you win it, and now you're back here as a senior. So you had three opportunities, and you're there 3 times. What does that mean to you?
Oh, it's amazing. Knowing all 4 of my years that I've been playing basketball has been great. Making it to the KSACs 3 times out of 4, even though we didn't get to have it my sophomore year. But it's just an amazing feeling.
For residential and commercial construction services you can trust, call Delta Contracting and Design Incorporated in Strattonville today at 814-764-5506. Or if it's concrete and excavating work you need done, then call Ace Concrete and Excavating at 814-764-5551. More on both Delta Contracting and Design and Ace Concrete and Excavating can be found at delcondesign.com. That's DELCON design.com. Looking for affordable auto, home, and life insurance? Look no further than Allstate Insurance, the David Jones Agency in Clarion and Meadville. At the David Jones Agency, you get personalized attention from someone who lives where you do. The David Jones Agency meets you where you are. They are available during regular business hours Monday through Friday at their office, via appointment at the office after hours, or remotely. The David Jones Agency also offers investment opportunities, including annuities and IRAs. The David Jones Agency can be reached in Clarion at 814-223-4000 and in Meadville at 814-337-5107. Buying, selling, or building a home? Then call Burford and Henry Real Estate today at 814-227-7355. For more than 15 years, Burford and Henry Real Estate Realtors have been ready to help you in your next property search. They are also the #1 agency selling more homes in the region than anyone else. And with their Showcase Homes divisions, their expert consultants can help you with building the home of your dreams. Check out Burford and Henry online at burfordandhenry.com. Burford and Henry Real Estate Services, something different.
Back here at the QR Code Coaches Chalkboard Show, he's Jess Quinn. I'm Chris Rossetti. He's the coach part of it. He knows what he's talking about. I'm just telling you what I see. Jess, we just heard from Kaylin Ritter there before the break, and just really impressive. Her ability to basically say, "Hey, look, I know I'm not going to be the primary scorer anymore." This is somebody who was an all-district player as a sophomore. Sometimes those things are about scoring, as you know. And so she's taken a role that's very different, but very successful.
What I took from her interview, Chris, I don't know how many times she said it. I could probably count. It was more than a handful. Team. My team is successful. My team is successful. When she was a sophomore, I told you, we went down to Red Bank. She hit 8 or 9 threes. I mean, she couldn't miss. She was all over the place. Then Miley comes in. She has to do a little bit more on the offense of rebounding and then coming in and playing defense. She's all over the place defensively, and that's what helps her team win. That's what helps her team be successful. I can't give her enough credit, for the role that she's taken, the way that she's done it. Her character shines through. It really does. And there are a lot of people on that Red Bank team that know their name isn't going to be, they're not going to be the player of the game. It's not going to be the headline, but their team is going to win championships, Chris. And it's because of every single person that goes out there and says, I'm putting the team first. And that's exactly what Kaylin Reeder does.
As we look ahead to tomorrow, you have the boys championship game at 6:00. It is Clarion Limestone against Karn City, and then the girls game at 8:00, Red Bank Valley against Montauk. Your picks?
I got to go with right now with what I've saw the last, what I've seen the last two nights here, Chris. I'm going to go with Karn City winning the boys and Red Bank winning the girls. I look at Karn City. What I saw the other night was team basketball from the boys' side, and they were very, very, very good. I would probably maybe give the nod to CL if Jace Ferguson was playing, but he's not. So I would go with Karn City on the boys' side, and Red Bank is Red Bank. Unless Montauk can come out like we talked about, Chris, in the recipe for victory would be to slow it down, and they can hit some shots and make it close and maybe make Red Bank panic a little bit, and Montauk could win. But I'm going with my gut, and I'm going with Red Bank Valley.
Yeah, I'm going with Red Bank in Karn City as well. I look at Montauk. They played Red Bank as close as anybody in District 9 at Red Bank back in December. We saw that game last Friday at Montauk. They can't play any worse than they did in that game, though, Jess. I mean, they turned the ball over 28 times. They were 2 of 15 from the free throw line, only lost by 14. So I think they've got what it takes to pull what would be a little bit of an upset. But I also think that Red Bank Valley has the best player, in generally speaking, especially in girls basketball, the best player wins.
Usually that's your best player handles the ball, your best player does all the shooting, best player plays defense. Miley Harmon does that. She's the best player right now by far from what I've seen. And you go with the team of the best player, Chris.
And, Karn City, I just think the athleticism that they have is as good as anybody. You look at Micah Rupp, you look at Tate Bailey, almost called him Chase's older brother.
His older brother.
You look at what Hobie Bartow has done down the stretch and things. I just like what I see there from them right now. And I'm with you. I think CL isn't able to do quite what they want to do without Jace Ferguson in the lineup. And that injury has changed everything they're doing. Now, I'll say this. Jack Callan at the end of that game last night looked like Ian Callan. And, if he plays like that, if something unlocked last night, all bets are off.
All bets would be off. I still think you're right, though, with the athleticism of Karn City. And if they had Jace, and don't get me wrong, Chris, people will say all the time, well, it's a team, it's not one player. But when you take a player like Jace off of that team, it messes with chemistry. Okay. It messes with the team aspect, everything they want to do as a team. Okay. So you take a player like that off the floor, and you go against a fully strengthened team in Karn City, a team that has been playing very, very good basketball in the last month. And I got to go with Karn City.
Also tomorrow night up in St. Mary's, the AML will be playing its championship games. Elk County Catholic will be playing St. Mary's on the girls' side, and Elk County Catholic will be playing Ridgeway on the boys' side. Boy, we've seen that matchup over the years. But Andy Close will be up there. He'll have all the coverage on the YDL Sports Network, United10sports.com. Jess and I will be here at Tip and Jim for all the coverage of the championship games here. And then next week, Jess starts the playoffs, and should be a lot of really good games starting Tuesday night with Montauk and Brookville in the District 9 3A championship game.
I tell you what, I'm really excited. This is the best time of year, Chris. It really is. Leading from high school and then into college with March Madness and everything. But right now, it gets really, really exciting. The kids are amped up to play. Even the student sections are getting into it and everything. It's such an exciting time to be watching basketball, to be a fan of basketball, to be coaching, to be playing. A lot of fun.
Absolutely. Folks, we want to thank again Allstate David Jones Agency, Delta Contracting, and Burford and Henry, the sponsors of the QR code coaches Chalkboard. We'll be back tomorrow night with, or if you're watching this on Saturday tonight, with another edition after the KSAC Boys and Girls Championship games. Until then, for Jess Quinn, I'm Chris Rossetti saying good night